Hi, this is Ari from Good Nights, and today I would like to talk to you about how to create the ideal environment for your baby to sleep in. So when we talk about the ideal environment, we don't want it to be too hot and too cold because otherwise your baby is going to be uncomfortable. So temperatures between 21 and 23 degrees Celsius are really the ideal temperatures for your baby to sleep in. And then we want to make sure when we talk about linen and blankets and things like that, that there's no loose blankets in your baby's cot as well, because it's not very safe for your baby to sleep with loose bedding such as pillows or blankets. And while we're there, your sheets and things that you're going to use that your baby is going to sleep on, is you want to make sure it's 100% cotton. You don't want to use synthetic fibers or stuff like that the baby's skin is going to be irritated by. Then we want to make sure we also remove all toys and mobiles from your baby's cot. I know mobiles can be such a great fixture and it can be so entertaining for baby, but we want baby to sleep. We don't want baby to play in his sleep environment. Also, mobiles are not that safe, because in one night you'll wake up and then all of a sudden baby is standing in his crib and he's pulling on the mobile lands in his cot or her cot, and then it's not very safe to sleep in. So that's why we suggest to remove mobiles altogether. Lights and lamps should obviously be switched off, because that has an influence on melatonin, the hormone that helps us sleep. So the darker, the better. So this is also a time to start contemplating if you want to invest in blackout curtains. Blackout curtains really does help to just eliminate that little bit of light coming through, and we want nature's assistance here when we want baby to sleep. So that melatonin really does help. A dark room does help baby sleep better. When you have to change a nappy throughout the night, it's fine to switch on a dim light, because obviously you have to see what you're doing in the middle of the night, but do keep lights off when baby is sleeping after that. Okay, so we suggest to move the baby out of your room when baby starts to get older, because they are more aware of your presence the older they get. So at 4 months, there's really a big cognitive leap that's happening. They're more aware of you, they can see further. So it really is imperative that you start to think about moving baby out, especially if that is your end goal. If you want your baby to sleep on his or her own, it's very important that you start thinking about starting where you want to end up. So when we talk about safe sleep, it's important to remember the ABCs. We call it the ABCs, to make sure your baby is sleeping alone. So that means baby should not sleep with toys or blankets or pillows, as I've already mentioned. Then we want to also make sure that we put baby down for his or her nap or at bedtime on his or her back, because that really is the safest position to sleep in, and it does minimize the risk for SIDS. Then we also want to make sure that baby sleeps in his or her own crib. If you do want to co-sleep, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you have a nice co-sleeper for your baby to sleep in, so that a baby can sleep next to you and not in your own bed. We do not want that. Older babies, it's very important to have a consistent sleep zone. We don't want that where they startle awake in the middle of the night and they don't know where they are. So it's very imperative that you make your baby used to sleeping in a certain room or a certain area, so that if it is in the middle of the night and your baby wakes up, your baby knows where he and she is. It's not a strange environment for him or her to wake up in. Then we want to also make sure you introduce a comfort item such as a lovey, but with your younger babies, such as your newborns and babies that are really young, you can introduce a comfort item, but please make sure you take that comfort item away after he or she has fallen asleep. We want to remove that item because we don't want extra things lying around in the cot. Then we want to also avoid feeding in the sleeping zone, because we don't want baby to associate feeding with sleeping. So if baby has to feed, then you feed outside the room. If it's in the middle of the night, it's fine. Dim light, it's fine. Just make sure your baby is awake when you put baby down. And then we also want to avoid playing in the sleeping zone, because sleeping zone is for sleeping and it's not for playing. So just avoid putting baby in his or her cot with a lot of toys during the day to occupy him or her, please play with your baby outside the sleeping zone. I hope all of these little tips have helped you, and if you want more information, please go check out our website at www.goodnightbaby.co.za. There's a lot of stuff that you can read, and there's a free ebook as well that you can download. Okay, see you later.